And once again, welcome back everybody for some more Mechabellum playing against Vigo von Homburg. Apparently, or at least by the sounds of it, a German player. And unlike usually, I've started to just aggro some people out of fun. I know it's disgusting, but I guess sometimes I just need a bit of aggro in my life as well when I don't meet that many Chinese or meta players anymore. The Vulcan nerfs seem to have hit these people somewhat hard-ish. Anyway, we are playing with, elite specialist going for steel balls and, well, the opponent is going for an elite specialist with steel balls and crawlers. And we are steel balls with Fang and, round one Wraith, because there is nothing, let's be perfectly honest, that he can do to stop this. I think I still qualify versus aggro. So, yeah, we're gonna see what exactly happens here when steel balls clash. Though, of course, since my opponent has no anti-air whatsoever, there is, of course, nothing he can do against the Wraith. I'm just gonna fast forward this round because we all know how this one's going to end, right? I've started to aggro on the right side, and he has gone for a balanced aggro, which means it's only natural for us to somewhat exchange sides here. And technically I don't have the forces on the ground to win this fight at all, but that's because all of my round 1 money has gone into an air unit. Speaking of the air unit, it's not going to level by the looks of things, but it will pick up a very decent amount of XP. Arclight is aiming up, but of course without the upgrade it cannot shoot up. Why? I don't know. We have improved Wasps here, another very good aggro unit. My opponent, however, opts for mass-produced Phoenixes, which I believe have gotten a buff somewhat recently. Yeah, I think they were at minus 40% on attack and HP, but now they are only at minus 30%, still half the cost. And he decides to get some quote-unquote normal cost Phoenixes. How do these actually compare? So this is 120% of a normal Phoenix. No, not 120. It's 100 and... come on, you can do math. 2 times 70, that's 140%. So it is actually a stat improvement. Meanwhile, my opponent still has no anti-air whatsoever here, which means that these improved Wasps are going to eat a lot of XP and start to level. He is locked onto the Wraith, and it's doubtful that I'm going to win this round, because there's just a lot of HP that I have to go through. These stronger than normal Phoenixes, because of Elite, are actually pretty good here. I may have still won the round if my Wasps didn't split, but they were nice enough and kind enough to just split and don't kill the Phoenixes. Tower debuff doesn't really matter because these Wasps just get insta-killed anyway. They lock onto this thing, then they start working on the Phoenixes, but the last Phoenix stays alive because the crawlers scream. Round number 3, so far no player has taken any significant amount of damage. We have some pretty interesting things here. I go for a nano repair. What does my opponent do? We should be looking at this. I have hit the jump drive on the Wasps and decided to use them as chaff, even though they are level 2. My opponent has also chosen the nano repair module. I think this goes great on a Wraith that is about to level next round, in most likelihood. It's not certain that it will level, but it is very likely that it will level. It doesn't need to kill a whole lot, and I have some distractions here, which should hopefully, it draws the aggro of the Phoenixes. Well, not much is happening. Let's speed along. He decides to missile in the back. Okay. And drops another crawler pack. Well, that is right in the path of my Wraith here. And he puts the heal on these steel balls that are also a decent amount of progress towards leveling these. Wraith does get targeted despite the distractions. One Phoenix still in range. Is it gonna level here? It is. Alright. This Wraith is getting chewed up by the level 2 Mustangs, but most of the stuff on that side has been sufficiently destroyed. My Wasps get to work on the Phoenixes, and that means this side is done. However, these units are kinda too much, I wager, to still win this. Yeah, they're going to get a tower debuff and wipe these steel balls out easily. And then there's level 2 Wasps against level 2 Mustangs. These have faster movement, but otherwise it should go in the favor of the Mustangs. Although not by much, to be honest. Like, there's 3 remaining, so once again a round with only very, very little damage. We're getting some decent stuff here. Marksman, definitely a good choice against a player who has 2 Wraiths. I decide to go for Fire Badgers instead, and throw them in his flank. Basically, the Fire Badgers exist to shield and hopefully eat the missiles so that these Wasps can get in, but my opponent did drop an additional pack of Mustangs here. He did decide to go for the Marksman after all, which with Anti-Air are a perfect way to get rid of this Wraith. And I guess after that this Phoenix can technically retire, more or less. I also decide to draw these units here away a bit, and have vertical Fire Badgers against these steel balls, which are probably going to level off it, though. Well, I can't sit back and just defend. These units will level, after all. Even if they just get another tower and some chaff, they will be at a level up here. I decide to drop another pack of Wasps and see what damage they can do in the middle, because I notice my opponent has almost nothing there. Myself, I am very, very vulnerable here. Yeah, he's just deploying more and more forces on this side here. Also, these Wasps are now level 3, and Wasps level 3 are very scary, honestly. Level 3, level 4 is the point where I would stop countering these things with just baseline Mustangs and level 2 Mustangs that I can spawn, and start countering them with, like, Phoenixes and Marksmen, because there isn't a whole lot of Wasps, and there's a lot of money per Wasp, if that makes sense. It's kinda hard to explain. Yeah, I did leave the Wasps here for this round. They are chaffing. This Wraith level 2 is tanking, but of course it has a lot of stuff firing at it. The Fire Badger ate the missile as I had expected. And of course, everything here gets wiped out. This time I have a lot more forces remaining, some steel balls, and the opponent isn't that far towards my tower. The Wasps indeed are going to take the tower, and this thing is still just level 1. They also eat a high level Marksman, and then they have to hide behind steel balls, but is it going to be enough? I guess it's not. The Mustangs take out everything under the tower debuff. It becomes apparent that I need a level here, but once again it is not even 200 damage. We get some super heavy armor, and I have leveled steel balls, so that goes together like a horse and carriage. What's my opponent taking? Did he take the fire? I don't actually recall. Anyway, with these steel balls pushing 22, almost 23k of health, with level 4 Wasps, and some more Wasps that I can move behind the Fire Badgers now, and hopefully have them do a good job dealing with these Mustangs, things aren't even looking all that bad. But my opponent, of course, is sitting on some pretty powerful units himself. He has Arclights with armor. I don't actually know what this armor is against. Maybe it's just to increase HP and have them be a bit more tanky because it's a cheap upgrade and he doesn't plan on taking these units any further. He puts range on Mustangs, and if they weren't a big enough menace before, they will be now. This is a level 3 Mustang. This is a level 2 Steel Ball with heal. And he throws an Arclight here. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe just as a roadblock. Anyhow, since my opponent is stacked up, I decide to go for a Stormcaller and see what damage this guy can do. While at low level, not all that much. He is now very effectively getting rid of my chaff, which means that the Marksmen and Phoenixes get to lock onto my Wraith. Additionally, the Steel Balls have range opposed to the Wraith. But the Steel Balls take these units out, and the Wasps are once again able to deal with many other threats. However, we have healing Steel Balls heading for a level 1 tower. They might get the tower before this fight is over. Yeah, they do. So these Mustangs get to do a tiny bit more damage. This time, however, I have something else here that can deal with stuff, although only for 2 salvos. It does thin out these units quite a bit. I do get to eat this missile and take that tower, and that means that these steel balls can just get a little more work done. They already were leveling, but once again, it's a tiny amount of damage. Well, not as tiny before. It's a tiny amount for round 5, let's call it that. Giants are on the table, literally all giants. My opponent goes for the fortress. I think it's a questionable choice, whatever he picks. I just go for the melter, probably to sell it, right? Yeah. Fortress into steel ball is interesting. With range and launcher, they can kill a lot of steel balls. But if they get to latch on and heal, then it's just game over for the fortress. I decided to go for another pack of steel balls in an attempt to break through this arc light and leech XP, literally. I also decided to level this tower here. It's about time. Since I have no defenses whatsoever in my rear, I decided to put levels on both towers, actually. So, what else do we do? My opponent gets another pack of Mustangs here. Very good choice, in my opinion. These will also, well, actually they won't be moving forward, so the arc light, which has less range, is still going to get targeted by the steel balls. I guess this is a perfectly fine way to hold this back, at least for a bit. I mean, level 2 arc light with almost 12k HP and armor. Fire badgers aren't going to touch it, but the wasps most certainly will. These steel balls are getting a bit scary though. They have level 3 with heavy, super heavy armor. The Wraiths are clearing chaff and don't get instantly targeted with their range upgrade now. And that means this fortress is a pretty sad boy here. It's well, not instantly. It is getting targeted by the balls, getting killed by the balls, and you can see that these balls are already at level 4. These are some pretty scary units. Honestly, I probably should be throwing like some Stormcallers back here in order to just target all of this nonsense. With the level tower, my units can approach a lot more effectively, and the Wraith is able to deal with a lot of units. Well, the Wraiths, there's multiple, which also means they are picking up some very decent XP. They both leveled here. Redeployment, very powerful, but also improved Overlord. Rhino Assault could also be a neat play, but I don't think it's a neat play for myself. My opponent has protected his towers a lot better. Maybe if I put it here, it can go towards this tower, but I think these Mustangs would just turn around and kill the Rhino on approach. I decided to go with it after all, okay. Yeah, that is the plan that I had in mind here. Levels on the Wraiths. I'm sitting now on a total of... How many Wraith levels is that? Yeah, that's 7 Wraith levels. One of them has the Nano Repair Kit. And we have 8 shot as well. So these Wraiths just became a whole lot more scary this round. And the steel balls are still leveling. Also means I have spent most of my money. I decided to invest into another pack of Fire Badgers. I guess it's in order to tank a bit for these steel balls. My opponent decides to missile chaff because he put some more phoenixes here. I'm curious why he invests into phoenixes. Maybe because marksmen are just less efficient for him. He also put charged shot on the phoenixes, and that is significant because that can kill a lot of stuff. Anyway, as I thought, these Mustangs are targeting. It's gonna be close. Boom! Rhino does actually get the tower, so it was a good investment. These steel balls are getting shot up by the fortresses, but under the tower debuff they survive, and that means they will just laser these fortresses down into nothingness. Under the tower debuff I managed to make quite a win here. Wraith also gets to eat a bunch more of these units. If it can kill this thing, and it very well Yeah, it will. Then that's another level. So this was a very bad round for my opponent here.